Hey guys, what's going on? This is Mark. We're continuing on our series of generations. Previously, we have talked about hearing from my grandma's story about how she came to Christ, how it impacted our family. But due to technology, we cannot do that. So I'm gonna go by my memory of talking to my family about my great grandma. So I'm gonna begin with the story of how my grandma came to Christ. She always told us that she was playing with her brothers and sisters just in the backyard one day back in Indiana, and she was just going along, and every day she would hear the church bell. And then came to one Sunday, she was like, "You know what? I'm gonna go to church." Mind you, her mom and dad and brother and sister were not Christians. She just, on her own, just randomly decided, I'm going to church. I'm intrigued. So she went to church that day. And that same day, she gave her life to Jesus Christ. Kind of simple as that, but she's just one out of, I think, 6 or 8 brothers and sisters. Well, only Christians in our family at this point. She was the believer. She was the first one to start this whole thing. And a lot of us get to this point of, I think for new believers, maybe you're just the first one in your family in many years to be a Christian, and you're like, man, what do I do? Where do I start? And that's a burden for some of them. But what I would say is, it's a blessing at the same time. You get to see the generation to come because of your actions. We can look back in Jesus' family history and back in Matthew, the very first chapter. A lot of people get bored of like, oh my gosh, gotta read it about who Jesus come from. We know he came from David family line. We know that. And while that is true, look at the names that come with being part of Jesus' family. First one I could look up is David. Of course, we know who David is. But David was also he was an adultery. Looked at another woman from his wife and tried to marry her. He went against God. Yet he was still called a man after God's heart. Remember that. And we can go on and on. I could talk about the insect that's in the family, that the evil that's come from some of these family members, but yet it doesn't matter because Jesus was the one to begin to change everything. And we can read on and on and on and on about how different people from his family change. So you might have come from a very bad line of family member, but it takes one person to change the course of your family. And that's what happened to my great grandma. She heard the story of Jesus Christ. She heard the story of what he can do. And she took it to heart. So she became a believer. What did she do? She got the whole family saved. She got mom and dad, her brother and sister, all led to Christ. Because she understood that was the call. The call to bring people to Jesus. To love, to cherish them. Not to condemn them, but to love. And she was a great example of just caring and loving. And I even go on to my great grandpa. My great grandpa was a man, that was for sure. He worked in a factory. He loved God. For what I know, he was just such an amazing man. But I didn't know that he wasn't a Christian when he was dating my grandma. Now, mind you, I am not encouraging to go find your husband doing the mission. I'm not saying that. But my grandma, and I always remember hearing this, was she would say, Harry, I love you. My great grandpa name. Harry, I love you, but I can't marry you until you come to know Christ. Now, to a lot of people, it's probably a turn off. They'd probably just go, nope, not doing it, it's not worth it. But my grandpa heard the news, he considered it. Sure enough, he took the pledge, he jumped in, became a Christian. And slowly he became a better man of God. My grandma would tell so much more about my grandpa and my grandpa, he was a great man, and my grandma was amazing. And they had children of their own, and they brought them up in Christ. And I can tell you here in Proverbs 22 verse 6, train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is older, he will not depart from them. My grandma is a perfect example. My grandparents, they raise their kids right. And even when some of them left, they still hold on to the truth. Here in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 4, Father, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in discipline and instruct them of the Lord. There wasn't many times I've ever seen my grandparents or my great-grandparents ever get angry. Even to my family, my mom and dad, I don't see a lot of anger. They don't provoke their kids to anger, but they loved. That's what my grandma showed me, was to love people. That's my whole family has to show love to people, and that's what she brought to the table, was love. She was someone who could bring joy while she was cooking. Some of her accent, how she would say water. We just say water, but she go water. We just loved on that, and she was just a woman of God. When family was having trouble, who would you call? You call her. You had her pray for her. You had her pray for you. She was a warrior of prayer. She prayed for all her children. When my great-grandpa passed away, a lot of time, it's a sad thing. There's nothing wrong with that. But my grandma, who was sad, who lost her husband, was also strong. She stayed by herself for pretty much her whole life after that. About 10 plus years, she held on. And what did she do? She continued to pray. She continued to go after God. And her children that maybe wasn't walking with God at the moment, eventually came back to Christ. Why? Because the principle that they were taught was still there. To the mom and dads that maybe have children that's a little bit older, maybe teenager year, and you just see them walking the path of destruction, of chaos, and you're trying to figure out, what do I do? I think of my great grandma, and I think she would say, pray, continue to love on them. When they make a mistake, just love on them. Yeah, you still tell them they were wrong, but you love them. Why? That's what Jesus did. That's what he still do to us. I can't tell the countless of time I've made mistakes. I still make them today. But it's love that always brings us back. From the shame that I brought in, God said, it's not there. It doesn't belong where you're at. Because my love overcomes that. It fills in that space. My grandma taught us a lot of things about being loved and caring, coming from a family that didn't believe at the moment, but she took a leap of faith of believing to change the course. So how do I end this video about one woman that changed the course of the history of a family? I think about, what would she say? how will she encourage the next person, maybe to change their history of their family? And I think she would say is, don't lose hope. You'll have a lot of bad days, but a lot of good days to come. Continue to love, because love will overpower everything. Because it was the same love that God gave us that overcame death and sin. I think she would continue to say, keep praying, don't lose hope, keep bringing them to church. Don't lose hope, keep asking, keep going. Because sooner or later God will unharden their heart and they'll come back to church. So I think my encouragement would be, don't lose hope. There's plenty of opportunity to continue to bring them to Christ. Because mind you, it's not your job to save them. It's Jesus. He's already saved them. It's up to them to take that. You have to be the one praying so they can come. If that makes sense. To put it this way, we've got the answer. We're showing them. They just got it. They've got to take it now. You can do all you want, but it's up to them. So keep insisting. Keep praying for them out of love. And the best way how I can describe that, how to show love, is be soft-spoken. Don't provoke them in anger. Cherish them. When they want to speak on something, let them speak. Don't tear them down. Speak life. That could be hard. But if that what Jesus would have done, why can't we do the same? No matter what, your children or someone you love, they will still hear that word. It's just a matter of time of believing. And for the people who have family that's desert them because now they're a believer, I would give you the encouragement of Psalm chapter 27 verse 10. Though my father and my mother forsake me, the Lord will receive me. You might have family member that deserted you, but your heavenly family will bring you in. And it might be a long time before they come to Christ. But keep praying, keep pursuing, and don't let anything stop you. Have faith that one day that God will call them home. There's a lot it's kind of hard to wrap the whole thing up about my grandma because she taught so many things to our family. I encourage you to keep watching our previous videos or upcoming videos about this, because I feel like we got a lot coming on with this that we can go on more and more. But I think I'll end with this. I feel like this is how she would want us to hear this. John chapter 15 verse 12 and 17. My command is this, Jesus is saying, love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay one life for one friend. You are my friend if you do what I command. I am no longer called you servant, because the servant does not know what his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends. For everything that I have learned from my Father, I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I have chosen you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit that will last. And so whatever you ask in my name, the Father will give you. This is my command. Love each other. God bless you. Watch our series. If it's your first one, go back and watch the rest, or watch our future broadcasts about this. God bless you. Have a great day.